comes from Alan Scott, please. Alan Scott.
With Parliament taking steps to introduce same-sex marriage, is it time for the Northern Ireland Assembly to follow suit?
Yes, same-sex marriage, which, yes. Seems to be not quite so popular in the Parliament here as in the Parliament in... Well, that's not the Parliament here, the Assembly here. Ian Paisley, you better kick off on this, hadn't you?
Why ever should I? But, yes, well, look, I'm unapologetic about this. I take a very traditional view on marriage. And I know that it is probably very unpopular nowadays, and I'll be accused of being a dinosaur and being behind history and all the rest of it. But I believe marriage is fundamentally about children. That's about creating children who in turn create society and create family and create society and create stability in that way. And that's my interpretation that I have of it. Now, I know I would be vilified now for having that view. No doubt I'll be accused of being homophobic. No doubt I'll be accused of being close to being racist. And everything else that is nasty and bad in the world, because it is a traditional Christian view. And the reason why Christians are vilified about this point of view is because we're to be scared off from expressing that point of view. But I will express it proudly and honestly because it's how I feel. It's also how, quite frankly, the majority of my constituents feel. Over the last year and a half, I received a postbag on this particular issue, especially whenever the Prime Minister turned from his position of not having this in his manifesto to suddenly making it a primary party policy for the Parliament. I received something like 3,000 individual contacts from constituents saying to me, you must stand up against this. I received 5 letters of opposition to it. And I must say that whilst that's only a vox pop in my own constituency, I believe I'm in tune with the people who sent me to Parliament to say to government, think again about this. It's divisive. It's divided your own Parliament. It's divided your own party. Indeed, I walked through the lobby with more Conservatives than Theresa was able to walk through the lobby with on this particular point. It is ripping people apart. And we've seen in the last election that the UKIP made significant inroads and have chalked up this divisive policy on that road. I am not opposed to homosexuals. I believe that homosexuals have are entitled.
You say you're pretty repulsed, but you say you're pretty repulsed.
I'm repulsed by many things, but
that
is actions, David, as opposed to individuals.
Don't bulldoze me in the Paisley manner.
I would never bulldoze David Dimbleby, who's good at bulldozing everyone else in this panel.
Let me just then, in that case, give you this quote. I am pretty repulsed by gay and lesbianism. I think it's wrong. Daddle-daddle-dum. You can't then say you're not against it.
Well, sorry, the daddle-daddle-dum was the actions which I was talking about, not the specific individuals. I'm repulsed by people who are not homosexual as well on many occasions, and by their actions. And I think, it should be taken in the round, that particular comment.
Immoral, offensive and obnoxious, you say.
But I will...
Is that do you stand by that?
Well, I'm entitled to those views, yes. I'm entitled to those... I'm entitled to those views, and indeed I will be challenged by them and accused of having all manner of opposition.
I'm not challenging you for having the views. You just said earlier you weren't against gay relationships, and now it seems as though you probably are.
I've said I'm not against individuals, and I think that I'm entitled to have a position. But I'll tell you this. Parliament has now put this forward. It now goes to the next session of Parliament with regards to the House of Lords. It'll be interesting to see what comes back to us. But Parliament is incredibly divided by it. And I think that we've got to recognise that it wasn't in any manifesto, there was no significant mandate, and I can't for the life of me understand why this particular government has decided to champion it at this particular time. But no doubt it's an unpopular point of view.
Not entirely. Peter Tatchell.
Well, I think the British people have spoken very clearly. All the opinion polls show that, one YouGov poll showed that 71% of the British people believe that gay couples should have the right to marry in civil ceremonies in register offices. And in total, 58% of religious people also agreed that gay people should be able to get married if they wish. And of people intending to vote Conservative at the next election, 57% of would-be Conservative voters support equal marriage too. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any issue in British public life where so many people were in favour. Now, your point, I'm sorry and sad that you've got these intolerant views, but that's your right. That's your right.
Thank you.
But in a democracy, we are all supposed to be equal before the law. I object to the fact that you want to impose your particular religious faith and interpretation of religious faith on the rest of us using the law of the land.
No, I don't.
You're saying that because you believe that homosexuality is wrong or repulsive or obnoxious, that therefore the law should discriminate.
No.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. You can get married tomorrow, Peter. You just can't get married to a man.
Well,
so you're not being stopped. You're a gay man. You're entitled to get married to a woman.
Come on. That's below the belt.
You're entitled to get married. So the law doesn't stop
I think most people will see through that. But anyway, the point is, in a democratic society, we should all be equal before the law. And that also includes the right of heterosexual couples to have a civil partnership. And I supported the moves to open up civil partnerships to heterosexual couples. And I'm really sad and disappointed that the government, which claims it's legislating equality for gay people in marriage law, won't support equality for straight people in civil partnership law. That's not consistent.
OK. The woman in the third row from the back, yes, you.
Just in relation to a few things that Ian Paisley said, when you talk about marriage, the main thing about marriage being about the creation of children, that's a massive slap in the face to any couple who chooses not to have children or can't have children. You're shaking your head, but it is.
Well, do you want me to answer it?
No, just let her make the point. We've got to get round the table.
I think that when you're talking about the issue of equal marriage, that was tearing Parliament apart, tearing parties apart. The real things that tear people apart is whenever our politicians are getting up on a public platform and telling young LGBT men and women, and those who don't define in the binary, that being gay is repulsive and obnoxious and disgusting. Right. And I mean, I feel sorry for you that you have those views. And I mean, the equal marriage bill.
You made your point. That's fine. But I want to come back to this Northern Irish issue and the element in it with John Dowd. What's going on in the Assembly? I mean, the Parliament in Westminster has not yet passed it. It's got to go to the House of Lords. What's happening here? And how can Northern Ireland stop something that happens? You go to Manchester and get married and come back here. Are you going to be told that you're not properly married?
Well, if Ian's party gets its way, that will be the case. Now, my party brought forward recently a vote to the Assembly calling for equal marriage. That was defeated on the basis that the system here can work on vetoes. The DUP used their veto in this instance. I think it was the wrong thing to do. We support, and I fully support, the right for a loving couple to get married. That's what this is about. Ian concentrates on the sexual acts and all these sorts of things. Concentrate on the fact that there's a couple in love. Concentrate on the fact that there is a couple in love who want to come together under that marriage banner. And I think we should be supporting them in doing that. And I respect Ian's point of view, and I'm not going to label him with anything. But I would say to him that he is standing in the way of the wishes of a vast majority of people. Right. When I get mailbags of letters too from both sides of this argument. I get mailbags from people who are concerned about it for a variety of reasons and people who support it for other reasons. But I'm firmly of the view that if there's two people in love, then allow them to get married, if they so wish.
Maajid.
Yeah. Here. I mean, look. When I was 15 years old, growing up in Essex, as I've mentioned before, look, if somebody came to me and said that the President of America is going to be black, that the most prolific rapper is going to be white, Eminem, and the Conservative Prime Minister is going to legalise gay marriage, I would have laughed you out the room. Now, what does that tell us? What that tells us, Mr. Ian Paisley Jr., is that you're yesterday's news, basically. Because the President of America is black and one of the most prolific rappers in the world is white, the world has turned upside down whether you like it or not, and the Conservative Prime Minister has forced through gay marriage equality. And what you just said in your spiel almost sounded like, I'm not racist, my best friend is black, but... Right? Now, you've got the right to your opinion, but it's the equivalent of me, as I used to say, sitting here promoting bigotry, homophobia, anti-Semitism, wanting to kill women because they've had sex before marriage, and saying, these are all my opinions, and I want to lobby law to bring them about. The fact is that they are bigoted opinions. You said you didn't want to say it. I will. They are bigoted opinions. They need to be challenged. You've got the right to to speak. You've got the right to say what you want to say. But I have the right to challenge those views.
Absolutely.
I think that what you said to Peter there next to you...
I'm a Democrat like you, and I accept your position.
And what you said to Peter next to you there was below the belt, because, frankly, you have the right to those opinions. What you don't have is the right to stop somebody else expressing themselves in their own way, so long as they're not harming you, so long as they're not entering your bedroom and forcing you to sleep with a man. Don't force them to sleep with a woman.
All right. I want to... Is there anybody here who would side with Ian Paisley's view, just so we can... Yes, a man up there, because we don't want a one-sided argument.
I don't have hate in my heart. I don't have anger or vilification in my heart. I don't have anything against anyone else. But throughout centuries, the traditional understanding of marriage has intrinsically and inherently been between a man and a woman. That's how I understand it. I don't hate anyone. I don't hate gays. I don't hate blacks. I don't hate Muslims. I'm not angry. But I think you got to understand, and I speak on behalf of millions of people, that we understand traditional marriage as between a man and a woman, and to redefine something so fundamental is tantamount to trying to redefine dogs so that that includes cats. Now, don't have a go at me, because I'm not angry against anyone. I'm standing up for what I believe is the traditional way of marriage.
All right.
Well, can I say...
No, hold on a second. Theresa Villiers, the Conservative Party would once have taken exactly that view.
I'm an ex-swivel-eyed loony, just for the record.
You're what?
I'm an ex or former swivel-eyed loony.
Oh, you are? Right. OK.
Well, the reason why I voted for equal civil marriage is because I'm a great supporter of marriage as an institution. I think it helps support relationships, it helps keep couples together and support families. And I simply didn't think I could justify denying access to that institution merely on the grounds of someone's sexuality. I believe that... I was very struck when I was in Derry, Londonderry, just a few weeks ago, where there was a lecture as part of the City of Culture programme, and Sir Ian McKellen gave the lecture. And he just pointed out how, over the last 30 years, steadily, bit by bit, the legal discrimination against the gay community has been dismantled. But there is this one last bastion that had yet to be dismantled, and that was the law on marriage. It is a difficult issue. I respect people's views on this. It is, of course, vital that no religion, no church, no faith is compelled to conduct same-sex marriage, but it is a vital step forward in removing any stigma that could be attached to gay relationships, and it sends a strong signal to young people who may be grappling with their sexuality, who may be confused, who may be seeking acceptance, that it is okay to express themselves in whatever the way they want to. And I think it was a good day's work when the House of Commons voted for equal civil marriage.
You sit up there.
We were once told that Northern Ireland was as British as Finchley, but yet Northern Ireland is being left out of this same-sex marriage bill. You know, either we have the same British rights and liberties as the people in Finchley, or not. You know, are we British or are we not?
What's the position that the Assembly won't vote or has voted? Where does it stand?
I understand. Maria Miller made a statement in the House. Maria Miller, the Minister, made a statement in the House that has indicated...
We're talking about Northern Ireland.
Yes, but she made it when questioned about Northern Ireland, that a marriage in England, a same-sex marriage in England, when those people, if they were to move to Northern Ireland, it would be recognised in law only as a civil partnership.
Well, what's the difference anyway? Because we were always told it was only a matter of words.
Well, there is a difference, and it's obviously in case of equality, when campaigners are campaigning for the right to be married, and it is in case of a civil marriage, but no one is talking about imposing this upon any of the churches. The current position...
No, we're not talking about that. We're just talking about if you're married... Now, hold on a second. If you're married as a gay couple, you're married in England, and you come over to Northern Ireland, and suddenly it's a civil partnership, not a marriage. What exactly does that mean? In what sense is it different? Sorry, what does it mean?
Well, it's in relation to, if you want it in terms of the legal definition, it's in relation to inheritance and benefits.
No, because inheritance is there in the civil partnership.
There is
inheritance rights are there.
No, it's
tax
not.
breaks.
I
don't think any of you know. I don't think anybody's explained this.
David, I think you actually need to ask Maria Miller, because it's Conservative Party policy, because they introduced it on Tuesday night.
If it doesn't matter, then you'd hope that Northern Ireland would accept it, but I think people should be able to choose. If same-sex marriage is available to couples in England and in Wales and in Scotland, then it should be available to people in Northern Ireland. And what I'd say to the Northern Ireland Executive is to think again and to actually allow that to happen. This is about love. It's about equality before the law, and people in Northern Ireland should have the same rights as everybody else across the rest of the UK, and that's what I want to see happen.
Okay. You sit down here, and I come to you, Peter. Yes.
You're saying it's about love and you're saying it's about equality. But how can you have something that's defined as a same-sex marriage? How do you define that when right at the start the definition of it doesn't add up? It's not equal. And Ian Paisley Jr. actually made a point that you have a male and a female. Male and male is not equal to male and female. That just does not add up. You're saying about love. You can commit adultery with a woman because you love her. It doesn't make it right. And the problem, when you boil it all down to this, it becomes a moral issue. It becomes a moral issue. And you're talking about what churches say or what churches should do. The problem with the churches, and it's interesting that when you read in the bill some of the legislation that's coming forward about how churches should deal with this, part of the problem there is you're not going to get churches to step into something where their creed, where their doctrines say so clearly that that's not what you do. Okay, so when you're talking about equality, you cannot have equality simply because of the definition of same-sex marriage compared with heterosexual marriage.
Can I just remind everybody that the main marriage law in this country, the 1949 Marriage Act, does not stipulate that marriage partners have to be male and female. The ban on same-sex marriage was only introduced in this country in 1971. Up until that time, there was no legal impediment to people of the same sex getting married. So this discrimination is relatively recent in our history. Marriage has evolved. Centuries ago, it used to involve child brides and polygamy. Until recently, rape was legal in marriage. A man could rape his wife. Marriage has evolved, and this is part of the evolution. The final point I want to put to Ian is, are you telling me that you've looked your own DUP gay members in the face, your own gay DUP members who are in same-sex relationships, and you've told them that you would not countenance them having same equal rights? Have you actually told them that?
Well, what I have said to them is that I do believe that there is equality, but I believe that the law should be like this. They, of course, are entitled to disagree with me. And that is the beauty of this democracy. And if I'm wrong in this issue, Parliament will vote that way. And if I'm right in that issue, well, it's my conscience that I have to be answerable for.
Okay. When did you say these same-sex marriages were taking place? Until when?
No, they weren't taking place. There was no legal impediment.
So until when?
Until 1971, with the nullity of marriage.
Why did nobody take advantage of it in the 60s?
Well, they tried, and that's why the law was introduced.
The law was changed.
They did try?
Yes.
Many cases?
Not many, but a few cases.
There was a trial at Westminster.
The man up there, at the very back.
Well, 2 points. First of all, you can't use tradition as a sole justification for anything. Slavery was a tradition for many thousands of years.
See, this is the vilification.
We've moved beyond that. Second of all, I'd like to ask Mr. Paisley, what aspect of allowing gay people to get married and enjoy the same legal privileges as anyone else who wants to get married, what aspect of that prevents you or anyone else practising traditional marriage?
OK, just briefly answer that point. Well, maybe you think it does.
See, this is the vilification. If you have this point of view, you have to be scared off from actually making the point of view that I'm for the interpretation of traditional marriage between a man and a woman. And that's what I believe in, and that's what I think marriage should be. And if you want to call your same-sex relationship something else, do, but don't call it marriage, because it's a con trick. It's not what it is. Get a new word. Invent a new word for it. Call it what you want, but don't call it marriage. Don't pretend it's something that it's not.
The question
because it's not a marriage.
What about...
It's not a marriage of a man and a woman.
He was asking whether you feel threatened as a married person by other people getting married of the same sex.
The question was, what aspect of allowing gay people to get married prevents you or anyone else from practising marriage in its traditional sense?
It's not a question of me being threatened.
That's not the point I've made. But
that's not the point I've made. Do I look like a guy under threat, mate?
A little bit, yeah.
OK. We'll go around in circles here. I'll take one more point from the man there in the pink shirt. You, sir, respectable.
Yeah.
Very briefly, if you would.
Just to go back to the British essentially comment that was made there earlier on, I think there's the position that is taken by Ian Paisley and other unionist politicians on this is quite hypocritical. We see it in relation to gay marriage, we see it in relation to other things like abortion legislation as well. They're happy to go on about how much they value their British citizenship and Northern Ireland's place in the Union, right up until the point where that clashes with their own personal prejudices, right up to the point where somebody here tries to exercise a right that is available to somebody across the water, and then the mask slips. Then you see that people like Ian are British when it suits them and they're Ulstermen when it doesn't.
All right.
The subtext of those who are opposed to same-sex marriage is that they don't believe gay people are fit and worthy, and that's profoundly and deeply offensive.
We'll move on. A question from Aubrey Calderwood, please.